Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. While WrestleMania 36 will go down as one of the most bizarre and unique WrestleManias in history due to its record-setting crowd of 0 fans at the WWE Performance Center, it did include the highlight of Drew McIntyre winning his first WWE Championship from Brock Lesnar. However, it's been reported that there was another who had been considered for that spot, that being the often neglected Aleister Black. Dave Meltzer reported the following in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. In early 2020, he was one of the 2 people considered to beat Lesnar and win the WWE title at WrestleMania. Black and McIntyre were both being groomed, but the decision was made by McMahon that McIntyre was the most over of the 2, and he got the title. Black ultimately went on to wrestle Bobby Lashley at the event in a forgettable match, and has barely been used since, making his most recent appearance for the company in October. While Black is reportedly making his way back to television with a new series of vignettes, one has to wonder how differently the last 15 months would have gone for him if he were the one to win the 2020 Royal Rumble instead of Drew McIntyre. The wrestling fandom is still reeling from the releases of several wrestlers from WWE on Thursday, including the likes of Samoa Joe, Peyton Royce, and Billie Kay. And according to a new report from Fightful Select, we may now have some insight into why the latter of those 3 was released. The report states, "We're told Kevin Dunn specifically didn't get Billie Kay and had verbalized that he saw a ceiling for her in WWE. They do note that it is unclear whether this contributed to her release from the company, but it should also be noted that Dunn's voice carries a lot of weight backstage, as he has been essentially Vince McMahon's right-hand man for decades now. What is there not to get, Mr. Dunn? She's just very funny. That's all you need to know. I like Billie Kay. Everyone loves Billie Kay. All my homies love Billie Kay." However, it wasn't just Billie Kay that was released, as both members of the Iconics were let go as part of these releases, and Peyton Royce has now taken to Twitter to issue her response. In a heartfelt message, she thanked Vince McMahon and Triple H for allowing her to work for them, the fans for fueling her passion, and her husband, AEW star Shawn Spears, for believing in her and her vision. Royce closed her statement by saying this is just the beginning and she's excited to get to work on the future. I'm excited too. Any company who wants to pick up the Iconics would be doing themselves a massive favor. More details have also emerged surrounding the release of Mickie James, who was also part of the same releases on Thursday. According to a report from Fightful Select, James had been very vocal about continuing to wrestle, something she rarely did in WWE. She had instead undergone training to be a commentator, and while she was featured on shows like Main Event and even as recently as NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, it never ultimately progressed, as she still wished to wrestle. After her 90-day non-compete clause, hopefully James can get her wish, as she can bring a great amount of star power and in-ring quality to any product. But now, it's time for a review of last night's episode of the SmackDown after WrestleMania in about 5 minutes. Thank you for being awesome Pledgehammers on Patreon, Dodgeball, David Vaughan, and fantastic Mr. Good Old Fox. The show opened how WrestleMania ended, with Roman Reigns and co making their way to the ring. Reigns and Heyman cut a lovely promo here, saying they followed through on the shot they called, and that no one wants to step up to Reigns anymore, not if that's how he treats 2 Hall of Fame level wrestlers. But someone did want to step up, and that man's name was Cesaro. I genuinely kinda marked out a little bit when Cesaro came out. Him being a main event talent is genuinely one of the things I've been pushing for years, and it seems they're finally starting to position him in that slot. As he goes to grab a microphone, Roman walks out, refusing to listen to what he has to say. Enraged, Cesaro goes to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville backstage and asks for a match against Roman tonight, but he doesn't even have to put the title on the line. Deville cuts across Pearce and says she'll speak to him and see if he wants to. After a really fun promo later backstage from Paul Heyman, where he said the rain delays on night 1 of WrestleMania were actually just the tears from angels who were weeping in advance of the beating Roman was going to give Daniel Bryan an edge. What a bloody line that is. The main event was set of Cesaro versus Jey Uso. Roman is too big of a talent to simply wrestle at the whims of Cesaro, and personally, I think that's a very smart decision. It makes Roman feel incredibly special. My only gripe is that they instead just have Jey Uso wrestle every match in his place, which he more often than not just loses. If he also had a Jimmy Uso and they split up the matches between them, it might be more manageable, but as of right now, it does just feel like Roman has just been replaced by Jay in the matches. Otis versus Rey Mysterio came up next and was a fun little affair, putting over Otis's power, but Mysterio was the one who walked away with the victory after a really innovative pin, going from the middle rope onto Otis's back into a crucifix pin to win. Hey guys, have you seen that Cesaro spanned Seth Rollins on his shoulders with no hands at WrestleMania? Crazy that. Sami Zayn came out next, and good God, he is such a good promo. He complains about being screwed at WrestleMania, as you'd expect, and calls out Kevin Owens once again, which is the perfect time on the SmackDown after WrestleMania for someone new to come out and try and shut Zayn up. But they didn't. Owens just came out, and then it went to an ad break. And then they just had a rematch. But why? We literally just saw this match at WrestleMania. And you know what? Sure, the wrestling was really fun because, shocker, they're really good at wrestling. But then the match ends when Sami runs away and gets counted out. And then Owens gets him back in the ring and hits a stunner. And then that's it. I'm never a fan of feuds going beyond WrestleMania. Mania should be the culmination of the vast majority of feuds, and only in very rare circumstances should feuds go beyond the biggest show. But if you're going to extend this feud out between Owens and Zayn, this ain't the way to do it, Chief. Nothing changed from WrestleMania to now. Owens still came out on top, still hit the stunner on Zayn, so we're left in exactly the same spot as we were at WrestleMania. And while we got to see a fun match, in terms of an actual story, it was kind of a waste of time. I love these two so much, and they deserve better. Apollo Crews revealed in a backstage promo that Dabba Kato's new name is Commander Aziz. Okay. Hey guys, have you seen that Cesaro spanned Seth Rollins on his shoulders with no hands at WrestleMania? Crazy that. Up next was a SmackDown Women's Championship celebration with the Street Profits and Bianca Belair, which actually makes sense with Ford being married to Belair, rather than Belair going on, you know, Miz TV or the Ding Dong Hello Show. Banks versus Belair was in my top 2 matches at WrestleMania. It's really hard to choose between it and the Triple Threat as my favorite, but the thing I loved about that match is that it felt real. The moment before the match where the emotions got the better of both of them endeared me to both of them so much because it felt so genuine and real. The promo Bianca Belair cut here didn't feel real. I'm really happy for her, and she definitely deserved a little segment like this to properly cement this victory, but you could tell it was very, very scripted, and Bianca did a good job of delivering it, but the emotion didn't carry over for me. But it was still fine. Backstage, Sasha Banks is too angry over her loss and she can't string a sentence together, so then she walks off. Bayley then says that she wants to challenge Bianca for the Women's Championship, which looks like that's the feud we're going to be getting for Backlash. Hey guys, have you seen that Cesaro spanned Seth Rollins on his shoulders with no hands at WrestleMania? Crazy that. The Street Profits faced the Dirty Dogs for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships next, which was a fun little match, but ended with Ziggler and Rude retaining after Ziggler tagged in while Ford was distracted and hit a zigzag. Hey guys, have you seen that Cesaro spanned Seth Rollins on his shoulders with no hands at WrestleMania? Crazy that. Natalya versus Shayna Baszler came next, which was short, and Natalya won with a roll-up. Hey guys, have you seen that Cesaro spanned Seth Rollins on his shoulders with no hands at WrestleMania? Crazy that. Why are you making me hate it, WWE? Stop playing the same clip over and over again! And then came the main event of Jey Uso versus Cesaro, which was a lot of fun, and I really bought into Cesaro's offense. I love that man. However, Cesaro got the swing in on Jey, and then Seth Rollins caused the DQ. And that's it. That was the show. Okay, let's take the positives here. It looks like they're finally positioning Cesaro in that main eventer slot, and they're potentially doing a slow build to get him there. We're starting to see the potential of him challenging Reigns without him actually challenging Reigns, which is very good. Rollins causing a DQ, however, and those two probably having a rematch at Backlash, is not as good. I don't like that. So maybe Cesaro can beat Rollins at Backlash and then challenge Reigns at Money in the Bank, or later. However, that does require me having faith in WWE telling a long-term story, which I don't. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and by voting in a poll on a poll match, where 77% of you voted for Cesaro versus Reigns, with 4 exclamation marks. As a SmackDown after WrestleMania, this wasn't great. As a regular SmackDown episode, it was perfectly good. I'm looking forward to potentially seeing where Cesaro goes, but that's really it from this episode. Most of everything else was fairly pedestrian. It's a 3 out of 5 show, smack bang in the middle.
So being in a tag team seems to dent your employment prospects in WWE more than being accused of sexual assault does. But hey, let's celebrate Black Wednesday Thursday, awful time. I haven't worked on the... So yeah, it's that time of year again. Much like Seth Cohen in the OC combining Christmas and Hanukkah to create Christmaka, WWE have combined the jarring narrative hangover from WrestleMania week and the timely anniversary of firing people for budget cuts just at the point at which they've never made so much money. It's great. It's, what can we call it? Cutsmaka. Or Cutsmaka. There we go. They sound the same, but one of them had to be beeped. So basically the way it works is that WWE makes you sign a contract. They own your name, your likeness, your social media, your ability to earn money outside of your job of which you're not an employee. They own where you work, they own when you work, they own who you work for. They also own any creative decisions about the character that you're portraying. And for that in terms of service, what you get to do is hang around until they f up, and when they do, they fire you. That's your fault. So yeah, it seems like a good system, but hey, that's the one we're living in. So John Laurinaitis has been going around telling everyone that it's for budget cuts. Look after the pennies and the pounds look after themselves is the old phrase. Comes to mind. Of course, sometimes you can have so many pounds that it literally doesn't matter what you do with the pennies. Luckily, they've been selling some NFTs. They've sold some gifts for loads of money. Look, there we go. They made about 100k, that one was, at least. There we go. Undertaker Bronze Retro and Bronze Modern. Now, of course, the retro photo taken clearly in the same photo shoot as the modern. So again, really worth it. Really glad they've put some time and energy into this. Honestly. Well, NFTs. For people who don't want to compromise on wasting either time or money.
Tempest and I will be reviewing the show on the WrestleTalk podcast channel today, so subscribe there to hear our full thoughts. And you can watch it right now by pressing the video to the right, and to find out more about more releases within WWE, you can press the video below that. Don't forget to subscribe here for daily wrestling news videos, and subscribe to WrestleTalk podcast for more reviews there. I've been Chopper Pete. Jam that jam.